location at Kingdom Mountain in Darien Lake with Harold Rubens. Harold is the sound engineer for Steven Curtis Chapman, which will be on later tonight. But yeah, so thanks so much for taking some time to be with us and to hang out and just talk sound and just the whole process around front house engineering and mixing. But
absolutely.
Yeah, so let's get into who you are a little bit. Let's talk about how long or when did you start your interest in sound? When did that all happen?
If you were to ask me for a bio, usually my opening line is, it all started at a Michael Jackson concert. I was, before that night, the idea of a sound person or sound or somebody that was in charge of the way things sounded wasn't even on my radar. And I went to, in 1984, I was at the Victory Tour in Houston at the Astrodome. And we were, on the other side of the stage, far back, and somehow that night, the thing that caught my eye, besides obviously the King of Pop being on the stage, but somewhere in the middle of all this crowd of people, there was this little island that would glow, with lights, and I was like, what is going on down there? And it just drew me every night, or that night, and I didn't know what it was, but at the end of the concert, I made my way in there and talked to engineers. What do you guys do? All this stuff, and what do you control? And my dad kind of, I think they do this, And he said, well, I mix, I do all the sound. Every channel is this, and he had 2 consoles, and it was just great. I was like, wow, for a little kid. But that, it did, it put it on my radar. So all I know is that that was a Saturday, I think Friday or Saturday. So Sunday I go to church, and all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, they have a sound person here, and I would go to my youth group, and there's a sound person.
Open now.
Well, it's like, oh, there's somebody that actually, that is in control, or at least making some adjustments for what, those kind of things, and so I did. I asked my youth leader, hey, so who does sound? Oh, so and so does it, So I started helping out in youth, and then it made sense, and and I started doing that, and then obviously progressions, you get to help out in big church, and then eventually you work in big church.
All right, so let's take a moment. Let's talk for all the gearheads that are watching, the tech guys who are looking for the nuts and the bolts of what you're using. I see the Yamaha shirt here, the CL Series. What are you touring with? You have the opportunity to bring some of your own line in with you on this tour. So a lot of times artists, you got to show up in a venue, you got what you have, and you got to make it work. Yeah. This is an opportunity for you to kind of pick and choose some of the pieces that you're able to bring in.
Right.
So let's talk about some of that. Let's talk about your console, let's talk about your microphone choice, let's talk about some of your backline. What are some of the things that you're using on this tour?
Some of the things that we use, for example, I do use, I'm a fan of Yamaha consoles. Now, and I'll say this, I've used them all. Yeah. And they're all great. Like, I think for a console, for a manufacturer to, appeal to a certain level of engineer, right? There's certain functions, certain sounds, certain quality that it needs to have. There's a certain set of tools that, that allows you to work, right? And it's just like you opening up your toolbox and you going, oh, I know where my screwdriver is, I know where my hammer is, and all those things. That's what a Yamaha console is to me. I'm so familiar with it, I don't have to think. Like, my reaction time from what I hear to making a change is very, like, oh, boom, I just hit keystroke. I don't think about where it is on the console. Whereas if I went right now to say like an Avid console or like a Midas console, a couple of weeks, about a week and a half ago, I mixed a show on a Midas. Great show, great sound, it was great. But it was a lot more of, okay, find it.
Right,
oh, there, okay.
Recalling,
and then, and like, where is that function? Because I'm not thinking about, oh, there's an EQ, I need to adjust it. It's thinking, I need to take out a little 2K on that. Okay, finding the EQ, where's that? Oh, this button, so it's because I'm thinking of the function up here, not here, right? So I'm like, how do I do it on different consoles? And so I do choose Yamaha consoles just basically because I think they sound great. I think that it's an extension of what I do. I'm so familiar with it. It's the back of my hand. I can fly on it. I have it set up the way I want it. Things that I want done. But yeah. So right now, currently, and since it's come out, I think we got our console about 6 months after the CL Series came out, and now we're 2.5, 3 years later, and still same console. Never had an issue with it. Rock solid.
So other than familiarity, what is it about the Yamaha Series, especially the CL Series you're wearing right now, like that? What is it about that you really love? Is there a specific feature about it that you just really love? Well, is it the interface? What is it?
There's a lot of great things that it does. The user surface is I think Yamaha has always had a really great user surface that I think a lot of people can just walk in and go, oh, there's three or four different ways to get to the same function. So depending on how you work, I set up and they're so customizable that I can set up things to react the way I want it to react. User-defined buttons, knobs that are user-assignable, ways to shortcut things on buttons, and the way you can set up remote or custom layers. So, I can always adjust things. So you and I could be mixing the same thing, but you can set up your console the way. There's a situation where I toured with the Afters, and the first part of the tour they had their engineer. So I was like, great, here's all the inputs, here's my stuff. Let me just set you up a custom layer. And when he came up, you recall the custom layer, and it was like his console when he was actually on my console, right? So there's a lot of those things, and there's a lot of the built-in. I think Yamaha, has one of the most complete. When you pull up the desk and you go boom, you plug it in, and the reverbs are phenomenal. The delays are great. The onboard effects, the premium packs, which is like the Neve Portico, which nobody else has. I mean, come on. I mean, you're talking about Rupert Neve stuff on there that sounds amazing. LA2's 1176.
You've been now doing this for 20-something years. We've been talking about you've been on tour at multiple venues. You've seen multiple churches. You've seen multiple, you built your own system. You've worked with existing systems. What are some of the lessons you've learned kind of later on in your career, or later on in your path, that you wish you'd learned earlier that probably would have maybe not changed your directory, but given you a little more insight, a little more wisdom earlier in your career?
Yeah. Wow. I think that there's with anything, as you mature, right, as a person, whether it's in life or in a career or anything like that, I think there's a common path that you take, and it's like basically you learn a few things, you get going, then you learn a little bit more, and all of a sudden you get to the place where you think you know it all. Right? Like we all get there, right? Like in some place, whatever we do, we get to a place where we know it all. Become
professional.
Oh, we're like, hey, I know everything, right? I've learned it all. Like I've been there, right? Like, and then, right on the other side of that, it's the fall. It's where you realize that you're not as experienced as you thought you were. You get put in a situation where you don't have the resources to know how the experience to succeed in that situation, and something happens, right? And then, the amazing thing is, the redemption side of the story is that on the other side of it, you go, and then you're on a path to continuously learning. Like I learn every single day. I learn something today. Every single day there's something that you do that you're always learning. I think that there's always, there's no shame in, Michael W. Smith's engineer was right next to me, and taking a second and listening to what he's doing, just hey, cool.
Hey, that's new,
hey man. And then he was doing it next to me, and we're just there's no pride in those kind of things where you just kind of go, oh, so how you doing? We using these kind of mics? Oh, you micing it like that? Oh, that's different.
Right.
Cool.
Hey, thanks so much for watching Backstage Access with Harold Rubens here on set. We're in Kingdom Bound, Darien Lake. For more information, follow him on Twitter. Continue to stay connected with us, Back TV, and we'll grow together. All right, thanks so much, Harold.
All right, bye-bye.